The year is 1578, a time of ceaseless war in Japan, yet young Kenshin found his greatest enemy not on the battlefield, but within his own skull. He was technically skilled, a prodigy with the blade, but his mind was a storm, a constant, nagging voice of doubt and fear. During sparring, his hands would tremble, his breath would seize, and his perfect forms would dissolve into clumsy hesitation. His master, the revered old Hattori, watched with a silent, knowing gaze, for he had seen this same affliction in countless promising warriors. "Kenshin," Hattori-sensei finally said, his voice a low rumble, "your sword is ready, but your spirit is bound by invisible chains." Kenshin felt shame burn, for he knew the truth. His mind was a traitor, sabotaging his every move with self-doubt. "Master," he choked out, "I try to silence it, but the fear of failure, the whispers of what if they consume me." Hattori-sensei nodded slowly. "Ah, the 10,000 thoughts disease. It is the plague of the modern warrior and the death of true strength. You seek to fight these thoughts, but you cannot win a war against yourself when you are giving the enemy your own weapons. The source of your weakness," Hattori-sensei continued, "is not that you have thoughts, but that you believe them. You have made your fears your master. Go to the whisperfall cave. Sit there until your mind becomes as still as the water that gathers at its base. Find your true master." Kenshin bowed, his heart a mix of dread and desperate hope. He knew his sword was useless until he conquered the enemy within. "Before moving forward to the topic, I just have a single request from you guys. Just do at least one comment and let me know that you liked the video or not. Just a single feedback from you guys can motivate me to make more of these videos. Thank you for your support." Back to the topic. Chapter 1. The Whisperfall Trial. The Illusion of the Noise. Kenshin arrived at the cave where the water dripped from the ceiling like 1,000 ticking clocks, each sound echoing his own restless thoughts. He closed his eyes to find peace, but the silence only made the internal shouting louder. Memories of mistakes and the dread of the future roared in his ears. "This is impossible," he whispered, his body twitching with the urge to stand, to run, to do anything but remain in this suffocating stillness. Modern men are haunted by this same ghost, the inability to simply be without the numbing drug of constant stimulation and noise. For 3 days, Kenshin fought the voices, trying to suppress them with force, only to find that what you resist persists with greater fury. He was exhausted, his spirit frayed, until he remembered Hattori's words, "You are giving the enemy your own weapons." He stopped fighting. He sat and simply watched the thoughts pass, like autumn leaves floating down a stream, refusing to reach out and grab them. He noticed that an anxious thought only had power if he fed it his attention. Without his focus, the thought withered and died. In that gap between the thought and the reaction, Kenshin found a sliver of the quiet mind, the place where the modern world's grip finally slips. The cave no longer felt like a prison, it felt like a mirror, reflecting back a man who was finally learning to be the observer of his life, not the victim. He realized that modern weakness comes from the fear of boredom, but the warrior knows that boredom is just the gatekeeper to true power. When he finally emerged from the cave, the world looked different, vivid, sharp, and stripped of the foggy layer of what if. Chapter 2. The Ghost Duel, the Present Strike. Returning to the dojo, Kenshin felt a new kind of confidence, not born of arrogance, but of an unshakable inner calm. Hattori-sensei watched him in sparring, no longer seeing the frantic movements of a fearful youth, but the fluid precision of a flowing river. Kenshin's body moved without thought, sidestepping imaginary threats, deflecting phantom blows. It was as if the sword moved itself. This was the present strike, a technique not found in any scroll, where action sprang from pure awareness, not from planning or reaction. "Your mind is no longer fighting 10 enemies," Hattori-sensei observed. "It is fighting none, and thus it can defeat all." He explained that modern man is weak because they are always reacting to life, caught in a loop of fear and desire, never truly responding. The samurai, however, learns to create a sacred gap between stimulus and response, a space where true freedom resides. Kenshin now inhabited this gap. When an opponent attacked, there was no thought of what to do, only the immediate perfect counter. This no-mind state, or mushin, allowed him to bypass the analytical brain, accessing the deeper, intuitive wisdom of the body. He realized that true strength isn't about brute force, but about being so present that your actions become effortless, inevitable, like nature itself. The greatest battle, Hattori-sensei concluded, is not won with the sword, but with the surrender of the self to the flow of the moment. Chapter 3. The Invisible Battlefield, the Discipline of the Mundane. Kenshin returned to the village, but he did not seek the comfort of his bed or the praise of his peers. He sought the small wars of the everyday. He realized that the soft mind is not defeated in one great battle, but in 1,000 tiny skirmishes against the urge to take the easy way. Modern man is weak because they save their strength for a great moment that never comes, while letting his spirit rot in the mundane hours. Kenshin began to treat the cleaning of his blade, the folding of his clothes, and the timing of his breath as sacred rituals of obedience. If you cannot command your posture, Hattori-sensei warned, you will never command your destiny when the steel is at your throat. He practiced the law of the first impulse the moment the mind whispered. Later, Kenshin acted now, killing the negotiator in its crib. He understood that discipline is a physical muscle. Every time you choose the frost over the fire, the executive mind grows thicker and more lethal. Kenshin noticed that his peers were distracted by gossip, by the heat, by the taste of the sake their spirits were scattered like dry leaves. He, however, became a ghost in the noise, a man who could walk through a riot and never lose the rhythm of his own heartbeat. He was no longer training to be a warrior. He was training to be a sovereign, a man whose internal environment dictated his external reality. The world is a mirror, Hattori-sensei whispered. A weak man sees a world of obstacles. A master sees a world of opportunities to sharpen his will. But as Kenshin's internal power grew, so did a new, more dangerous temptation. The pride of the self-made god. Chapter 4. The Shattered Mirror, the Final Sovereignty. Kenshin had become a master of his impulses, yet he realized he had fallen into the final trap, the pride of being disciplined. He felt superior to the weak men around him, not realizing that his ego had simply traded the chains of laziness for the chains of arrogance. Hattori-sensei led him to a frozen lake at midnight and told him, "Strike the ice until you find your reflection, then kill it." Kenshin struck the ice with all his might, but the harder he fought, the more the ice resisted, vibrating through his bones and teeth. He realized then that the modern weakness is not just a lack of will, it is the obsession with the self, the constant need to be someone. He dropped his weapon and sat in the center of the frozen lake, letting the cold seep into his marrow until he forgot his own name. In this total surrender, the negotiator did not just go silent, it vanished entirely, leaving only a vast, empty sky where Kenshin used to be. True sovereignty is not having the power to control your life. It is having the strength to no longer be bothered by the lack of control. Kenshin returned to the world, but he was no longer a warrior or a master. He was simply a man who was fully here. The modern man's struggle ends the moment he stops trying to build a fortress for his ego and instead becomes the mountain itself. The iron spirit is not found in the victory over others, but in the final, quiet victory over the need to be anything at all. The path is open, the frost is waiting, and the fire is yours to light or to let go.